Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, we are going to be doing the eyeshadow palette tag. This video was originally started from Ali Glines and Samantha March, and it's just been going around. I first saw it from Jessica Braun. She is one of my favorite YouTubers. What the eyeshadow palette tag is basically you go through your eyeshadow palette collection and you just pick one for each category. So there is a couple questions and you just pick an eyeshadow palette to go with each one. It kind of just gives you a chance to sort through your palette, see what you have, see what you like, what you really don't like, and maybe even motivate you to declutter and see what you're really using. So question number one, what is your newest eyeshadow palette in your collection? So my newest eyeshadow palette is the Nude Mood eyeshadow palette from Colourpop. And this is the newest eyeshadow palette in my collection because I literally just got it today. So this is what it looks like. And guys, if this is not me in a palette, I don't know what is. So I really like this palette. I went to Ulta today for something other than this. I actually went there for something totally different and ended up not getting it because it turned out not to be what I was really looking for. But I did see this and I just had to pick it up. This is like literally, this would be my everyday palette, but I have not tried it or used it yet. But yeah, this is the newest palette in my collection. Next question, what is the oldest eyeshadow palette in my collection? So for oldest eyeshadow palette in my collection, I want to say it will be the Jaclyn Hill palette. I decluttered a lot of my really old makeup that I had since middle school, and I was holding on for it for so long just because it was memories and it's the makeup I first started using when I got into makeup. But I did declutter that. So right now the oldest eyeshadow palette in my collection is the Jaclyn Hill palette. As you can see, the front is kind of beat up, so is the back. It's kind of might be hard to tell, but there are some good dips in this palette. I do have quite a few eyeshadow palettes, so it's kind of hard to pan an eyeshadow palette. But this is the oldest one. Now, I did go ahead and repurchase another eyeshadow palette that definitely would have been my oldest eyeshadow palette, but this isn't the OG that I had, but I did want to bring it up. So this is the Walking on Eggshells, and this is the original one. So they did come out with another one. There is a fourth shade in here, and it's like a matte shade, so that's a newer one. This is like the original one that they came out with, and I actually got this at the Dollar Tree and I had to pick it up because it just brought back, like, I'm like, wow, like it brought back memories. So I had to just give this one a shout out as well. So date wise, this is definitely the oldest one in my collection. Most expensive eyeshadow palettes. So I actually have two. And I know you're probably like, how do you have two? Like the most expensive, Sierra. Actually, the reason I have two is because they're both worth the same price, but there's also another reason why I wanted to mention both. So the most expensive eyeshadow palette that I have in my collection is the one from Tati Beauty. And if you don't know Tati, she is she was a YouTuber. I don't know if she still is YouTubing. Like, I think there's just a lot going on in her personal life right now. But I used to watch her all the time. And when she came out with this palette, I literally died inside. Like, look how gorgeous this palette is. Although I don't find myself using it as much as I thought I would. But again, I do have a whole lot of other eyeshadow palettes that I am trying to dip into as well. This is the most expensive. This one, it goes for $48. Now, this one is from Natasha Denona, and this one also runs for $48. The difference is I spent my own money on this palette. This one I did not. This one came in a BoxyCharm box, but the reason I wanted to bring it up is because I feel like this one is my most expensive eyeshadow palette in my collection, because even though they're both $48, there is only 5 shades. So, you know, for 48 bucks, you're getting all of this, which is great quality and everything, but you're getting all of these shades for $48. For Natasha Denona, you're only getting 5 shades for $48. So in my opinion, I feel like this is definitely my most expensive, but most expensive that I purchased with my own money would be Tati Beauty. Great. So for least expensive eyeshadow palette in my collection, I have these three. So This one here, again, this is definitely least expensive. I got this for $1 at the Dollar Tree, and I think if you go to Walmart, you might be able to get the one with the extra shade for, I think, $3. I'm not sure. But this one here is definitely my least expensive because it was only $1. But I did want to shout out these as well. These are very inexpensive as well. These are $3 a piece, guys. $3. And they are from e.l.f. and this is their bite-size eyeshadows. And it's like little quads. This one is in the shade Cream and Sugar. And this one is in the shade Pumpkin Pie. So these two are my favorites. But yeah, so definitely least expensive eyeshadow palettes in my collection. Next question, what is your everyday palette? So this one, as of right now, is my everyday palette, and I feel like it's a good one. It's a good palette to choose as for like everyone's everyday palette. If you're into warm, neutral tones, of course. If your everyday palette is colorful or cool tone, then this definitely wouldn't be your everyday palette. But this is definitely a palette that I could say is my everyday palette. You do get 4 matte shades in this palette. So you get this white one, which is great for a brow bone or inner corner highlight. You get your brown, like your tan nude transition shade that's a little bit deeper than what's showing up on camera. And then you do have this one as well to also help you transition. You have your nice black eyeshadow, and then you have some shimmers as well that you can use as an inner corner or brow bone highlight, plus like some toppers. So this is definitely an eyeshadow palette that I reach for when I just want something warm, neutral, quick. I know that this is going to work for me, and again, it has everything I need in this palette, so I don't have to reach into another palette. And this one is from Profusion, and it's their Classics, and it is a 10 shade eyeshadow palette. So next question, worth the hype? Palette from Anastasia Beverly Hills, collabed with Carly Bible, is definitely worth the hype in my opinion anyways. I freaking love this palette. First of all, the packaging is super cute, but the inside, like guys, you can see I definitely used it. Like, it's hard to tell sometimes if products are used, but definitely used it and definitely think it is worth the hype. I think this palette goes for, well, it was originally $45, so I did spend $45, but I think it's on sale right now for $35 on the actual website for Anastasia Beverly Hills. But yeah, I definitely think this palette is worth the hype. The formula is good, it blends great, and it literally just has everything you need. If you just want something simple, you have your neutrals, you have your pop of color, you have your cranberry shade, you have your little summer peachy shade, you have your, New Year's Eve out clubbing party shades. Like, it's just everything. Seriously, think it is worth the hype. Most colorful palettes. I would say my most colorful palette is my Glam Light Pizza palette. Now, I have not even dipped into this palette yet either. I literally just got it for my birthday. My best friend got it for me, Brandy. You saw her here already on my channel. But yeah, she got this for me, and this is what it looks like. And I do have a few other palettes that have color as well. Some of them might even be like a tie, but this one definitely, I would say, is a colorful palette, and it is definitely one of my most colorful palettes. You got this bright orange right here, and then you got your yellow, your purple, your hot pinks. Like, I don't know. I would say definitely that this is my most colorful palette at the moment. Smallest eyeshadow palette. So for my smallest eyeshadow palette category, I would have to choose another e.l.f. eyeshadow. And this is not a quad, actually. This is a trio. So it's one eyeshadow less than the bite-size eyeshadows. Now, those are definitely small as well. But this one, shade-wise, it only comes with 3. And so does the Walking on Eggshells from Wet n Wild as well. But this one is definitely one that I also use a lot, so I definitely wanted to shout it out. So this one is in Rosé All Day. And this is another great just everyday eyeshadow palette that I do use a lot if I'm in a rush and definitely have no time to play around. Well, usually I'm just putting bronzer in my crease, like, let's be honest. But this is another eyeshadow palette that I love having in my collection, and I would definitely probably repurchase, just because I literally use the heck out of this crease shade right here, and then if I do have time, I would just quickly run my finger in and put it all over my lid, and it just gives me a little bit of depth and warmth to my eye for the day. But yeah, this is one of my tiniest, littlest eyeshadow palettes. Next question, what is your biggest palette in your collection? So I actually have two, again, because they both have the same amount of shades. They both have 35 shades. And again, dun, 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 Jaclyn Hill. Jaclyn Hill has 35 shades. So this is definitely one of my bigger palettes. And then I also have one from Profusion, so a little bit more affordable. And this is their Mirage palette, and again, it has 35 shades. I did use this palette for a Valentine's look already on my channel. But yeah, these two are definitely my biggest palettes. Will definitely take you a while to get through them. The Jaclyn Hill is a little bit bigger though, if you're actually like looking at which one's like the biggest when it comes to like the pan size of the eyeshadows. But they're both, like I said, they both have 35 shades. So these two are my biggest palettes at the moment. Best memory. So I could not choose between these two, and I'm actually happy that I have both. So I'm just going to include both of these because I have really good memories with both of them. Like both like different kind of memories, but they both are just like kind of warm to my heart. So I'm just going to talk about this one very quickly again. It's the Walking on Eggshells from Wet n Wild, and the only reason why I mentioned this one is because again, this is when I very first started getting into makeup and just kind of like wow, and just loving myself, I guess you can say, and just looking at like, just I don't know, just kind of seeing myself with makeup for the not one of the first times, but like playing with eyeshadow and putting more than one eyeshadow shade on my eye. And this was like just the beginning of it all, like the beginning of everything. And so when I look at this, and this is why I had to repurchase it, one, I missed it. Like I literally did pan my other one. A lot of these you could see pan in, and then it was so old I had to throw it out. But yeah, so I don't know, just looking at this, it's just like, oh, I had to pick it back up again when I saw it at the Dollar Tree. But yeah, so this is definitely one that just brings back so many good memories of just playing with makeup, getting into makeup. And I remember I got this in like a holiday Wet n Wild kit, and I was just so excited, and I used this all the time. Another eyeshadow palette that brings good memories is the MAC eyeshadow palette, and this one is in Burgundy ×9. So there's about 9 different shades, and the reason that this brings memories is because this was my very first high-end palette, and my best friend Brandy is the one that purchased it for me. So before I had this palette, I was using all drugstore. There's nothing wrong with drugstore, but holy crap, guys. When I got this palette, I was almost in tears. Like I was so excited. I was so happy. Everyone on YouTube is talking about MAC, and you're just like, you know, I'm just over here like, I'm just barely making like the cut for my bills. Like I can't afford to go out and spend like, you know, so much money on like a MAC eyeshadow palette. So it just meant a lot to me when she got me this palette. It was my first high-end palette, and I just have a lot of good memories. And I believe this was one of my Christmas gifts. So yeah, so this is definitely a palette I don't use much anymore, but it's definitely a palette that I don't think I would ever get rid of. I probably won't use it in 10 years, but I think I'll still keep it unless it's like growing mold or something. So this is gonna be a little bit like double sworded, like kind of with the, like, you know how they say a sword has double end or whatever. So not worth the hype. Don't kill me, guys. Don't kill me. I just said how much this palette means to me. MAC, honestly, because this is my one and only MAC eyeshadow palette. But for what I heard from someone who has multiple eyeshadow palettes from MAC, they're just not that good. So honestly, I don't think that this is worth the hype. Again, this one is in the shade specifically Burgundy ×9. The eyeshadows are so dry, and I'm not gonna lie, like I said, it meant the world to me when I got this palette, but when I used it, I was like, did I get a dud? Like, did like, people love MAC. Like, why aren't these eyeshadows performing the way I thought that they would? They were just so dry. Like, it's just, they're just dry. The payoff is not well. They're not super pigmented. You really have to dig your brush in there and swirl 1,000 times and just keep dipping in. And honestly, the only shade that I really used a lot was this shade right here. Like, if I could just have this shade, you know, that's I really love this shade. But honestly, it's just MAC, not worth the hype. Sorry. I still love my best friend for giving it to me and buying it for me and trying, and like I said, I love it and I'll keep it forever. What is your favorite palette from your favorite brand? So one of my favorite brands is Colourpop. I love Colourpop. So Colourpop is definitely one of my favorite brands. And currently, because I used it, again, I want to talk about Nude Mood because that is definitely going to be one of my next favorite palettes. But this one is currently one of my favorite palettes, and it is from Colourpop, and it is their Wild Nothing palette. And I love this palette so much, guys. Like, you can see that it's been loved, definitely. But yeah, this is definitely one of my favorite palettes. It's just, again, it's me. It's kind of neutral, but you got a little bit of color in there too. It's fun for spring, it's fun for summer, but you also have like your shades where you can still use it for like fall and winter. And this shade right here is to die for. It's like one of their super shock shadows. But yeah, so favorite brand and favorite palettes, definitely one of my favorites. So most used palettes. Can you guess it? So yeah, Jaclyn Hill. Again, I mean, it's my oldest palette, so I feel like it is going to be my most used palette. Again, I have a lot of eyeshadow palettes, so, but it's definitely my most used. You can see this black had better days, like definitely dipped into even the colorful shades. I probably used every shade in this palette. And like these transition shades, like I'm pretty sure you're about to see a little bit of pan on both of these shades up here. But yeah, this one is definitely most used. Last question, underrated palettes. So I think just overall, Profusion. This is another palette from Profusion. So I think I just showed you like, this is a third palette that I showed you from Profusion that I have in my collection. This one is the Sienna's palette. And this palette, guys, again, me in a palette. So this is what it looks like, guys. If you love warm, toasty tones like this, you will die. Like, this seriously is everything. Oh my God. I have used it already, but I have not played with it as much as I would want to. But it is a little bit newer, so I'm trying to dip in and get more use out of my older palettes before they kind of go bad, before I start worrying about the newer ones that I purchased. But yeah, I love this palette, and I definitely think that I don't see much of talk about this palette, let alone Profusion. There are some people who talk about Profusion, but I feel like it's not hyped up the way Wet n Wild is or e.l.f. So yeah, I feel like more people should talk about Profusion. I know Juicy Jazz here on YouTube talks about Profusion a lot, and that's great because they definitely deserve more recognition because they are just so good. Their eyeshadows blend just as good as like Colourpop and e.l.f. Like, they are, and they're super affordable. So yeah, so this palette, as well as just in general, Profusion is definitely underrated. All right, that was all the questions. Now you know some of the eyeshadow palettes that I have in my collection. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you want to get notified when I upload more videos, please hit the subscribe button as well as the little notification bell down at the bottom. That way you can get notified when I do upload, and leave a comment or two. I would love to talk to you and hear from you. Until next time, guys. Bye.